Hello and welcome to Michael King Paints. So this time I'm painting the Homelander, played by the excellent Antony Starr. So usually I do a quick sketch, and this will be the first layer, and I'll use this as reference just as a bit of a guide when I'm doing this sort of work. I like to fill the canvas as soon as I can with different colours, or just to fill it. I don't like gaps. And so the idea is I usually do the darks and the mid-tones and then the lights, and then use that as the base. It's pretty tricky when I'm starting. I don't actually pick colours, I do it by eye. And so this is kind of good practice for when I'm doing oil painting. And what I tend to find is that my darks are usually dark enough when I start, and you don't kind of realise this until you've kind of got into the paint a little bit. So what I tend to do is just go around and make things darker, and this kind of gives it a 3D effect. It kind of makes shapes form. So yeah, at this point I'm just going around and looking at what I can add, making things darker. As you can see, I like working on the eyes quite early as well, and then I'll leave them and then move on to something else. So I'll move around the painting. It's a bit like a scattergun approach. It's just where I feel like, the painting needs work, and I'll just keep doing that, and then looking at what I can make darker, what I can make lighter, kind of trying to work towards colours which are either colder or warmer. I'm really just moving to anywhere in the painting which kind of draws my interest. As you can see, I'm really just moving around, and I'm working on the flag, and then I'm looking at the armour and the outfits. Yeah, just kind of moving around and just making things either darker, lighter, warmer or colder, and just keep repeating the process. I always find it tricky when I'm starting a painting. I think you go through like an ugly phase where everything just doesn't look right, and it's just you wonder if it's going to turn out to be a good painting. But I think it's around this point now in the painting where you can start to see it starting to take shape. It's starting to look like the Homelander, and then I start working on more details, like just working on the ear, trying to work on that colour and the transparency of the ear as well, which I find quite interesting. So yeah, just moving around, working on the details. It's pretty soon, I think around this point, that I go back to working on the eyes as well. So another thing that's probably worth pointing out as well, and it's pretty similar to how I paint with oils, I tend to use a bigger brush at the beginning, and then as I get close towards finishing, the brush tends to get smaller, or I use a smaller brush. And I think that just kind of, it doesn't make you focus on the details early on. So that's kind of what I like to work towards. And as you can see, I think, in particular, if you're looking at the armour in this particular section, it starts to pop a little bit because you're going darker, you're using that smaller brush, and then the detail starts to come out a little bit more. But I always try to resist using a small brush at the start. It's around this point I started to paint the hair as well. Obviously early on it's quite blocky, and that serves a purpose really. It's kind of a placeholder for what will come. It's kind of the base layer. So yeah, it's just a case of just going through, looking at the details, thinking what needs to be darker, what needs to be lighter, and what needs to be warmer and cooler as well. So just repeating that process. I think with this particular painting, I did probably overblend a little bit. I think it's easily done, but yeah, I'm trying to resist doing that. I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with that choice. I think it's more of a style choice, and I think for me, I like to make things look more painterly. And to be honest with you, a lot of the digital stuff that I'm doing it to improve my oil painting. As odd as that sounds, it just gives me more practice when I'm not at the easel. When I haven't got time, I can just get my tablet out and do some work on there. So I'm coming towards the end of the painting now. So if you've got any ideas of someone you'd like me to paint, drop a message in the comments. Until next time.